The Story of Nie Xiao-Qian, from Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, by Pu Songling, 1766. Nie Xiao-Qian, a man of Zhujiang. His disposition was generous and candid, guarding his integrity with self-respect. Whenever speaking to people he said, "In my life I have never shown two faces." Once, going to Jinhua for the imperial examination, he reached the northern suburb and unpacked at Orchid Temple. In the temple the halls and towers were splendid, yet weeds and brush covered all, with no people, as if human traces were cut off. The monks' quarters to east and west, their double doors loosely closed, only the small chamber to the south was locked, its bolt as if new. He also looked at the eastern corner of the hall, tall bamboo arched together. Below the steps was a great pond, with wild lotus already in bloom. He greatly delighted in its secluded and hidden charm. At that time the education commissioner was on inspection. Lodging in the city was costly, so he thought it convenient to remain, and so strolled about waiting for the monks to return. At sundown, there came a scholar, who opened the southern door. Nie hastened to pay respects, and moreover told him his intention. The scholar said, "Here there is no master of the rooms. I also am a temporary lodger. If you can endure the desolation, and in mornings and evenings bestow instruction, I will be most grateful." Nie was glad. He spread straw as a bed, propped up a plank as a table, planning for a long stay as a guest. That night, the moon was bright and pure, its clear light like water. The two men sat knee to knee in the temple gallery, each stating his surname and courtesy name. The scholar said of himself, "My surname is Yan, my style name Qixia." Nie suspected he was one of the examination candidates, but listening to his voice and tone, it was by no means like that of Zhujiang. On questioning him, he said, "I am a man of Qin." His words were very plain and sincere. After a while, their talk was exhausted, so they bowed, parted, and returned to sleep. Because Nie was in a new dwelling, for a long time he could not fall asleep. He heard, north of the lodging, a murmuring sound, as if a household were speaking. He rose and crouched beneath the stone window of the north wall, and faintly peered out. He saw, outside the low wall, a small courtyard. There was a woman, about 40 years old, and also an old crone, clothed in dark dingy scarlet, with hair stuck in disarray, her back hunched and body stooped, speaking casually under the moon. The woman said, "Why has Xiao-Qian not come for so long?" The old crone said, "She should be arriving soon." The woman said, "Could it be that she has spoken words of complaint to grandmother?" The crone said, "I have not heard such, but her manner seems distressed." The woman said, "A serving girl ought not to form acquaintances." Before her words were finished, there came a girl of 17 or 18, her beauty dazzling to the utmost. The old crone laughed and said, "We must not speak of people behind their backs. The two of us were just chatting, and this little demon maid slipped in without a sound. Lucky we did not point out her faults." And again she said, "This young lady is precisely like a figure in a painting. If I, an old body, were a man, my very soul would be snatched away." The girl said, "If grandmother does not praise me, then who else would say I am fair?" The woman and the girl then spoke further words that he could not hear. Nie thought they were merely the household of some neighbor, and lay down, no longer listening. After some time, it at last grew silent. Just as he was about to sleep, he sensed that someone had come to his sleeping place. He quickly rose and looked carefully. It was the young woman from the northern courtyard. Startled, he asked her why. The girl smiled and said, "On a moonlit night I cannot sleep, I wish to cultivate intimacy." Nie, straightening his expression, said, "You must guard against gossip, and I fear people's talk. A single misstep, and the way of honor and shame is lost." The girl said, "At night, no one will know." Nie again scolded her. The girl lingered, as though she still had words to say. Nie shouted, "Leave quickly. Otherwise, I shall call the student of the southern chamber to know of this." The girl, frightened, withdrew. When she reached outside the door, she returned again, and placed an ingot of gold upon the bedding. Ning picked it up and flung it into the courtyard steps, saying, "This is not a righteous thing, it would defile my purse." The girl, ashamed, went out, picked up the gold, and murmured to herself, "This fellow must truly be iron and stone." At dawn, there was a student from Lanshi who brought a servant, coming to sit for the examination. They lodged in the east wing. By night the student suddenly died. In the center of his soul there was a small hole, as if pierced by an awl, with fine drops of blood oozing out. None knew the cause. After one night, the servant also died. The affliction was the same. Toward evening, Yen returned. Ning questioned him, and Yen thought it was the work of a demon. Ning was by nature upright and unyielding, and did not much take it to heart. At midnight, the young woman again came, and said to Ning, "I have approached many men, but never one with such a steadfast heart as yours. You are truly a sage, I dare not deceive you. I, Xiao-Qian, surnamed Nie, died at 18, and was buried beside the temple. Straightway I was threatened by demons, forced to serve base tasks. To brazenly face people is truly not my delight. Now in the temple there is no one left to kill, and I fear they will summon a yiksha." Ning was terrified, and begged her for a plan. The girl said, "If you share a room with Yen the scholar, you may escape." He asked, "Why do you not seduce Yen?" She said, "He is no ordinary man, I dare not approach him." He asked, "How do you bewilder men?" She said, "Those who grow familiar with me, I secretly prick their feet with a needle, they immediately grow dazed as if confused, then I draw their blood to provide for the demon's drink, and I also deceive them with gold. But it is not gold, it is Rakshasa demon bone. If one keeps it, it can cut out human heart and liver. These two things are only to suit men's desires." Ning gave thanks. He asked when to guard against it. She answered, "Tomorrow night." As she was about to part, she wept, saying, "I have fallen into the dark sea, and cannot find a shore. Sir, your righteousness soars to the clouds, surely you can save the living and rescue the suffering. If you would collect my decayed bones and return them to a secure burial place, it would be nothing less than a second creation." Ning resolutely promised. He asked where she was buried. She said, "Only remember, above the white poplar, where there is a crow's nest, that is it." When she had spoken, she went out the door, and suddenly vanished. The next day, fearing that Yen might go elsewhere, Ning went early to invite him. After mid-morning, he prepared wine and food, keeping close watch upon Yen. When he proposed that they lodge together, Yen declined, saying that by nature he cherished solitude. Ning would not accept this, and forcibly brought his bedding along. Yen, with no alternative, moved his couch and followed, admonishing, "I know you are a man of worth, and admire you deeply. Yet I have certain secrets, hard to speak of at once. Pray do not peep into my chest and wrappings. If you disobey, it will bring harm to us both." Ning respectfully accepted the instruction. Afterward they each lay down to sleep. Yen placed his chest upon the window ledge, lay upon his pillow a while, and then snored like rolling thunder. Ning could not sleep. Near the first watch of the night, outside the window faintly appeared a human shadow. Before long it came near the window to peer in, its eyes flashing glimmers of light. Ning was afraid, and just as he was about to call Yen, suddenly something burst forth from the chest. Shining like a bolt of white silk, it struck and broke the stone lattice of the window, then shot forth in a flash, and immediately drew back in, vanishing as lightning disappears. Yen awoke and rose. Ning feigned sleep to spy upon him. Yen lifted the chest and inspected within, taking out an object, holding it up to the moon. He sniffed and examined it. It shone with crystalline white light, about 2 inches long, and in diameter like a blade of chive. Then he wrapped it securely in many layers, and replaced it in the broken chest. He muttered to himself, "What sort of old demon, so brazen indeed, as to break my chest?" Then he lay down again. Ning was greatly astonished, so he rose and asked him, and moreover told what he had seen. Yen said, "Since we are acquainted and fond of each other, how dare I conceal deeply? I am a swordsman. Had it not been for the stone lattice, the demon would have been slain on the spot, though as it is, it too was injured." Ning asked, "What is that which you sealed within?" He said, "A sword. I just now sniffed it, and there was demon qi." Ning wished to see it. Yen generously took it out and showed it, a small sword, gleaming brightly. Thereupon Ning esteemed Yen all the more. The next day, looking outside the window, he saw traces of blood. So he went out to the north of the temple, and saw desolate graves piled in profusion. Indeed, there was a white poplar, with a crow's nest upon its top. When arrangements were finished, he packed up his things, intending to return. Scholar Yen set up a farewell tent, his feeling and friendship most deep and rich. He presented Ning with a tattered leather pouch, saying, "This is a sword bag. Treasured and kept, it can drive away demons and monsters." Ning wished to follow him and be taught his arts. Yen said, "Since you are faithful and upright, you could indeed practice this. But you are still a man of worldly station and fortune, not one of this path." So Ning pretended that he had a sister to bury here, and dug up the girl's bones. He wrapped them in clothing and quilt, hired a boat, and returned home. Ning's study faced the fields, so he arranged a grave and buried the bones outside the study. At the offering he prayed, saying, "Pitying your fox-like soul, I bury you near my humble dwelling, song and weeping shall be within hearing, so that you may not be violated by malevolent ghosts. A single bowl of thin gruel for drink, though hardly clear or fine in taste, I hope you will not despise." When the prayer was finished, he turned back. Then someone called, "Wait, let me go with you." He looked back, it was Xiao-Qian. Joyfully she thanked him, saying, "Your trust and righteousness, 10 deaths would not suffice to repay it. Let me follow you home, to bow and meet your mother and father-in-law, to serve as handmaid and concubine, without regret." Looking closely at her, her skin shone like rosy clouds, her feet were delicate as bamboo shoots, her bearing in broad daylight was proper, yet her loveliness especially peerless. So he went with her into the study. He told her to sit and wait a little, while he first entered to tell his mother. His mother was startled. At that time Ning's wife had long been ill. The mother warned him not to speak of it, fearing to shock and alarm her. As they were speaking, the girl had already fluttered in, bowing low to the ground. Ning said, "This is Xiao-Qian." His mother, astonished, turned to look but could hardly manage it. The girl said to the mother, "I am a solitary drifting soul, far from father, mother, brothers. I have received the covering protection of the young lord, his grace reaching even to my skin and hair. I wish to hold the broom and dustpan, to repay his lofty righteousness." The mother, seeing her graceful and lovely, at last dared to speak, saying, "Young lady, your kindness to my son, this old body rejoices beyond limit. Yet all my life I have only this one son, to continue the ancestral line. I dare not let him have a ghostly spouse." The girl said, "I truly have no divided heart. Being one of the underworld, since I cannot gain the old mother's trust as wife, I beg to regard him as elder brother, to rely upon this household, and serve morning and evening at the hall. How would that be?" The mother pitied her sincerity, and consented. She was about to bid her pay respect as elder sister-in-law. But the mother declined on account of her illness, so it was stopped. The girl then entered the kitchen, and on the mother's behalf managed the meals. She entered the rooms, laid out the couch, seeming as one long accustomed to dwell there. At nightfall, the mother, fearful of her, dismissed her to return to her chamber, not preparing a bed for her. Passing by the study she wished to enter, but then withdrew, pacing back and forth outside the door, as if she were afraid of something. Ning called to her. The girl said, "Within this room there is sword aura that frightens me. Formerly, on the road, I did not pay respects to you, truly it was for this reason." Ning realized it was because of the leather pouch, so he took it and hung it in another chamber. Then the girl entered, sat beneath the lamplight, and after some time passed, she still said not a word. After a long while she asked, "Do you read at night?" "I once recited the Ragama Sutra in youth, but now have nearly half forgotten it. I beg to request a scroll, so in the night at leisure I may ask elder brother to correct me." Ning assented. Again she sat, silent. When the second watch was nearly over, she did not speak of leaving. Ning urged her. Sorrowfully she said, "I am a lonely soul from another world, terribly fearful of desolate graves." Ning said, "In this study there is no other bed. And since we are as brother and sister, it is fitting we avoid suspicion." The girl rose, her brows knit as if about to weep, her feet dragging in weary steps, moving slowly out the door, crossing the steps, and vanishing. Ning secretly pitied her, wishing to let her lodge on a separate couch, but he feared his mother's anger. Each morning the girl came to wait upon the mother, holding the ewer for washing, working in the hall, leaving nothing undone to carry out the mother's will. At dusk, when taking leave, she would always pass by the study, and by lamplight recite scriptures. When she perceived Ning was about to sleep, only then would she leave sorrowfully. The girl, discerning the mother's intent, straightway departed. From before, Ning's wife had been bedridden with illness, and the mother's toil was unbearable. Since gaining the girl's help, she found great relief, and inwardly was grateful. As days grew long, the affection deepened, as if she were her own daughter. She altogether forgot that she was a ghost. She could not bear to send her away at night and kept her to rise and sleep together. When the girl first came, she never ate or drank. After half a year, she gradually sipped thin gruel. Mother and son both doted on her, avoiding mention that she was a ghost, and others also did not discern it. Before long, Ning's wife died. The mother secretly cherished the thought of taking in the girl, yet feared it might be harmful to her son. The girl faintly perceived this, and taking an opportunity, said to the mother, "Having lived here more than a year, you must know my heart and innermost being. It was because I did not wish to bring calamity to passers-by that I followed the young lord here. My humble self has no other intent, only that the young lord's brilliance and uprightness, admired by heaven and men, makes me truly desire to depend and assist him for 3 to several years, borrowing thereby to obtain rank and honors, to bring glory to my tomb soil." The mother also knew she bore no evil, but feared she could not extend the ancestral line. The girl said, "Children are only heaven's gift. The young lord is inscribed in the registers of blessing, destined for 3 sons to continue the line. This shall not be taken away because of a ghostly wife." The mother believed this, and spoke with her son. Ning rejoiced, and so laid out a banquet to inform relatives and friends. Some requested to see the new bride. The girl readily emerged in splendid attire, and the whole hall gazed in astonishment. Far from suspecting her as ghost, they rather wondered if she were an immortal. Thus the kinswomen of all 5 clans came bearing gifts to congratulate, and strove to pay respects and make her acquaintance. The girl was skilled at painting orchids and plums. She would often repay them with scrolls a foot long, and those who received them treasured them as heirlooms, regarding it as an honor. One day, leaning forward at the window, she looked dejected, as though something were lost. Suddenly she asked, "Where is the leather pouch?" Ning said, "Because you feared it, I sealed it away in another place." She said, "I have absorbed living breath for long, and should no longer fear it. Best to take it and hang it at the bedhead." Ning pressed her for her meaning. She said, "For 3 days my heart has throbbed without rest. I think the demons of Jinhua resent that I fled far away, and I fear they may soon pursue me." So Ning indeed brought the leather pouch. The girl turned it over and examined carefully, saying, This is the sword of an immortal general that once contained human heads. Broken and worn as it is now, how many beings it must have slain. Even today as I behold it, my skin still bristles with fear. So they hung it up. The next day, she ordered it moved to hang above the door. At night, she sat facing the lamp, urging Ning not to sleep. Suddenly there was an object, like a bird falling from the sky. The girl was frightened and hid between the curtains. Ning looked. The thing was in the form of a yiksha, with eyes like lightning and tongue of blood, glaring and grasping as it came forward. When it reached the door, it stepped back, hesitating for a long time. It gradually came close to the leather pouch, and with its claws tried to pluck it, as if to tear it apart. Suddenly the pouch gave a sharp sound, as loud as a basket clapping shut. Vaguely a spirit-like form burst forth, half its body, seized the yiksha and dragged it in. The noise then fell utterly silent, and the pouch immediately shrank back to what it was before. Ning was aghast in wonder. The girl also emerged, overjoyed, saying, "We are safe." Together they looked inside the pouch. There was only several pecks of clear water. After several years, Ning indeed attained the degree of Jinsher. The girl bore him one son. Later, after he took a concubine, each of them also bore him a son. All advanced in office and each enjoyed renown.